Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Last week, we learned about a very, very big and important word called hypocrite. Hypocrite. Yeah, hypocrite means a person who is different from inside and outside. He probably would say that I'm a believer, and deep down he is not a believer. So that's one category of hypocrite. The other category of hypocrite is that the person does good deeds from outside, but deep down is not a good person. So a person who has two different faces. Islam says, do not be a person like that. So today the focus is, again, the hypocrite. However, today we'll be looking at, hypocrite is a person that whenever that person makes a promise, does not fulfill the promise, does not live up to the promise. If says that I will do something, never does it. Whenever speaks lies. And is not living up to his or her words. So hypocrite is something that we must always try to avoid. On the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about the promises that we have made and we have not completed them. For example, if you told your friend that I was going to meet that friend at so-and-so day and so-and-so time, and you never show up. Or you tell your friend who called you to come to his house at 6 p.m. and you're showing up like 7:30. Well, if you're running late, it is always a good idea to call that person in advance and tell them that I am running late and I will be there by 7:30 versus not informing and just showing up whenever you feel like. Anytime you run into any kind of an issue that you're not able to fulfill your promises, you must try to call that person, inform them so that they're not waiting for you. Also, do not make promises that you cannot fulfill, that you cannot complete. Say, I will try, rather than making a promise. I do not promise, I will try is a better option than saying, I'll do it, because then the other person is expecting you to do it. Yes, Mom, I'll do the dishes, and then she comes downstairs and nothing is done. Yes, Mom, I'll vacuum, but nothing is done. Yes, Dad, I'll complete my homework, but you are playing games. Right? So all of these are considered to be bad habits that we must avoid at all times. There is a story that's being talked about in the goal of the week about Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His enemies would call him as-sadiq wal-amin, and this is before the prophethood was declared to the people. And even after that, they were his enemies and they would still call him al-amin. The amin means the one that if you trust that person with something, that person will not break the trust. It's a trustworthy person. And as-sadiq means the truthful, the one who will always say the truth. It's not now pinpoint fingers at anybody, okay? The idea is that we should work on ourselves and not to do these mistakes ourselves. And be an example that the others can follow and lead with instead of pointing fingers at anybody. So similarly, there was a very big incident that happened in the life of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that was the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to do the Umrah with 1,400 companions, and he was stopped right before entering the Mecca by the people of Mecca, because they were all idol worshippers and they did not want the Muslims to come and do the Umrah. So over there at that point of Hudaybiyah, a promise was made between the Muslims and the non-believers. So non-believers, the people of Mecca, kept sending different people to the Prophet Muhammad to negotiate. Finally, they sent a man by the name of Suhail ibn Amr al-Amiri, and he came and he said to the Prophet ﷺ, let's make some promise and let's sign the document. Prophet ﷺ said, what are your rules by which you want us to sign the paper? He said, rule number 1, if anybody leaves Islam and comes to Makkah, we're not going to return that person. But if anybody accepts Islam and goes to Medina, you have to return that person back to us. Prophet ﷺ said, okay. And then like that, he had one after another, several different things. While the Prophet ﷺ was agreeing upon all of these things, it was not yet written down. All the rules and regulations were discussed upon. The son of Suhail, his own son Abu Jandal, who accepted Islam, that Suhail put inside a little jail in his house. He broke the shackles, he broke the chain, and he ran, and he came at the same spot where things were going on to sign the agreement. And Suhail grabbed his son from the back and said, Ya Rasulullah, you have to give this back to me. Because we just said, if anybody leaves Makkah and has accepted Islam, that person has to be returned back to us. The companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Ya Rasulullah, we have just talked about it. We have not yet written it down. You have not yet signed it. But the Prophet ﷺ said, I have to fulfill my promise. I have given my word, even though it's not written. But I've told them, yes, I will return. So Abu Jandal, you have to go back to your dad. And in less than 1 year, Abu Jandal and all the other people that were Muslims, Quraysh themselves, the people, the non-believers themselves said, go to Medina, please. Go to Medina, please. And they themselves let him go. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, there is always a wisdom in fulfilling your promise. So fulfilling your promise is very good because it helps you here. You're truthful. You're not a worried and scared person. Because when you lie, you're a little bit scared from inside. Your heartbeat increases. You're like, oh my God, when am I going to get rid of this? I hope the person goes away. I hope I can hide somewhere. But when you're a truthful person, you're not scared. You're strong. So that's what Islam wants you to be, a truthful person, so that you come out as a strong human being, inside and outside. There are people who make false promises, but then those are the same people that people stop trusting. You do not want to be the people that people will say, I don't trust this person, he lies all the time, or she lies all the time. You don't want to be that person, right? And then you should always try to speak the truth in all the conditions so that people trust you. And first of all, Allah should be happy with you. That's the bottom line. Our job is to make Allah happy. And Allah is happy when you're truthful. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, when you are at somebody's place, then you should not touch anything without their permission. And if you are playing with any of their toys, you've got to be nice to them. We do notice that sometimes kids go to other people's houses and they break their toys, which is totally wrong. Because if somebody does the same thing to your toys, you wouldn't like it. So treat other people's things as if your own things rather more, because again, they trusted you. That's what we trusted you with that thing, and you should don't pull the thread from the carpet, please. Thank you. Okay, so in this goal of the week, it's very easy. What you got to do is you will read through this, and you will highlight the examples of promises that you find in the goal of the week. That's all you got to do. Highlight in different areas wherever you find an example of what? Promise. That's all you got to do. Put your name on it and bring it with you next week. So this goal of the week is a little bit easier, right? But you got to do some reading. Any questions?